The story of the Ottoman Empire in the First World War is not merely a tale of battles and diplomacy, it is a dramatic struggle for survival by a once mighty empire facing internal decay, external threats, and the relentless pressures of modern warfare. By the early 20th century, the Ottoman Empire, which had dominated large parts of Europe, Asia, and Africa for centuries, had become known as the sick man of Europe. Yet when the flames of global war ignited in 1914, at the dawn of the 20th century, the Ottoman Empire was already weakened by decades of territorial losses, economic dependency, and political instability. Nationalist movements had eroded its control over the Balkans, while European powers increasingly interfered in its internal affairs. The Balkan Wars had been particularly devastating, stripping the empire of nearly all its European territories and exposing the fragility of its military. Internally, the empire was undergoing reform and turmoil. The Committee of Union and Progress, CUP, often called the Young Turks, had seized power in 1908, promising modernization and centralization. However, their rule brought authoritarianism and internal divisions. Key leaders such as Enver Pasha, Talat Pasha, and Cemal Pasha would shape the empire's wartime fate. When the First World War broke out in 1914, the Ottoman Empire initially remained neutral. However, it soon aligned with the Central Powers, particularly Germany, which promised military support and protection against Russia, a long-standing rival. The decision to join the war was heavily influenced by Enver Pasha, who envisioned reclaiming lost territories and restoring Ottoman prestige. When the First World War broke out in 1914, the Ottoman Empire initially remained neutral. However, it soon aligned with the Central Powers, particularly Germany, which promised military support and protection against Russia, a long-standing rival. The decision to join the war was heavily influenced by Enver Pasha, who envisioned reclaiming lost territories and restoring Ottoman prestige. While the empire struggled in the Caucasus, a new threat emerged from the west. The Allies, particularly Britain and France, sought to open a sea route to Russia by capturing the Dardanelles and seizing Constantinople. This led to the famous Gallipoli campaign. Allied forces landed on the Gallipoli Peninsula in April 1915, expecting a swift victory. Instead, they encountered fierce resistance from Ottoman troops, commanded by capable officers including Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. While Gallipoli brought hope, the empire faced mounting challenges elsewhere. In the Middle East, British forces launched campaigns to secure vital resources and protect imperial routes to India. In Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, Ottoman forces initially achieved success, most notably at the Siege of Kut, where they forced a British garrison to surrender. However, the British regrouped and eventually captured Baghdad in 1917. Perhaps the most damaging challenge to Ottoman survival came from within. In 1916, the Arab Revolt erupted under the leadership of Sharif Hussein of Mecca, who sought independence from Ottoman rule. Supported by the British, including figures like T.E. Lawrence of Arabia, Arab forces targeted Ottoman infrastructure, including railways and supply lines. The revolt weakened Ottoman control over the Arabian Peninsula and contributed to the eventual loss of its Arab provinces.